Welcome back, everyone, to our most current episode of Leading for Good. I'm Steve Coates. I'm here with Tom Hoyer. Tom, how are you doing today?
I am just fine. Having a good time this summer, and look forward to spending time with you today here, Steve.
Yeah, we've got a really special episode for people. Our first 4 or 5 sessions, we really focused on some key principles and universal principles, some Christian beliefs, and they sound good when we're talking about them, but then people will go back and say, geez, what do we do with these in tough circumstances, with tough people or toxic cultures? And so today we're going to give people some really insightful thoughts about how they can, put those into play on a day-to-day basis. And just a quick call out before we get started is if you haven't watched the previous episodes, we're just going to touch upon those today. So we're going to recommend you go back and watch them because we're not going to go into detail on those previous subjects. So let's get started, Tom. Just real quickly on we call it leading for good, and what's that all about?
Yes, Steve, I'd like to really look at the words on the right side here: compassion, truth, mercy, genuine caring, being positive, a difference maker. Those are the words that can really describe a leader, their character, the leader that's really doing good. Especially when, and I maybe one point, being positive difference maker. Being positive is so critical here. The world kind of creates negativity.
Yeah.
Leading for good is all about being that positive person with helping to kind of work and change the people around you.
Yeah, and this idea there that when we look at good from a divine perspective, we all can say, "Hey, this is good. This is really good." You've made the comment several times that at the end of the day, God said, in the creation of the first 6 days, at the end of the day, this is good.
This is good.
So that's the way we're approaching this whole concept, not to attempt to make people feel like we're all supposed to be perfect.
No.
We just want to bring
But
that
but
that concept of good in. And
and
then,
but we do get up in the morning, I hope, wanting to do good.
yeah,
That's kind of on our mind that we want to do good. And here's the definition. And I think fully accept, wanting to struggle for and willingly to act. And I think, Steve, the fully accept is a critical part of here. Is fully accept your purpose, fully accept why you're here, fully accept your vision. And once you fully accept that, that whole leadership definition really works for you at that point.
yeah, yeah. It's everybody that's in a leadership role knows how hard it is to move others to something that to something that the leader, believes needs to be done. And there's a lot of give and take and a lot of discussion and cooperation and some giving and some remelding of all this stuff. But we have to accept it and want to struggle for it and then act upon it. And that's what leaders do. And then, Tom, and we've got a lot of feedback on this piece when we introduced the concept of leaders bringing light into circumstances. And this image here, I mean, people might remember it. The just the beauty of it, the clouds, the water, the tree, the sand, but it's the light that brings all that into the forefront because without it, this is the same picture with no light.
I chuckle with that, but it's just the opposite. Just think about the leader who is doing good and the beauty that they create in the world. The light that comes from their doing good and the beauty that they create. Don't we want to do that? Isn't that something that just is beckoning you to do every single day, to look at light versus darkness?
Yeah. And I know you've commented about this on several occasions that when we're really in the darkness, a little bit of light from the leader can make a whole lot of difference. I mean, you almost need sunglasses on this image because of the amount of light, that 1% of light that is coming in on this picture. Well, a leader, if they bring 1% more light into a dark situation, you never know what it can do for someone.
I had a individual I was coaching for a fairly lengthy period of time, and we talked about him being dark, having him being creating no sense of light for his people and for his customers. He took that and understood that. And Steve, 3 months later, he calls me and said, Tom, I can't tell you how important the change has occurred. I'm trying to create light every day, and people are recognizing it. We're doing much better as a company, and I'm doing much better as a leader.
Yep. And I'm sure people listening to this have circumstances like that in their own lives with either people they've worked with, family members or workmates, or from someone bringing that light to them.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we're going to stop sharing for a minute because, as I mentioned earlier, you know, there's we wish this you could just walk in on every situation where it's a little bit difficult, say, "Oh yeah, I'm going to bring light, going to bring good," and poof, magic happens. But it doesn't. You're dealing with tough people. You're dealing in tough cultures. You might have two or three levels of management above you that just seem to, thrive in darkness. So, Tom, it's, from some of your experiences, what do you recommend for people? What suggestions do you have to set their, this is how you be a leader of light, a leader of good in really tough circumstances with really difficult people? What's one of the things you'd throw out for them to consider?
Number one, Steve, is just to listen. Understand that listening is a very, very important part of good and bringing light. People aren't going to work with you effectively, aren't going to come with their difficulties, aren't going to come with the things that they're troubled by without you listening. And when you start listening, light starts to shine on what it is that is important to you and your people. I think one of the other points is this idea of forgiveness that we've talked about before. And the idea that, hey, if there are some things that aren't going so well with some individuals on your team, spend some time going with them, talking about it, forgiving the situations, and working so that they can settle in and make things work together for the team effectively.
Yeah, it's you know, that sounds like work. And I know people they realize it is work and a couple things I would also remind them of is when you're going into these circumstances, especially one where there may need to be some forgiveness that takes place. You as a leader have got to be very intentional about your purpose when you're meeting with people like that. It's, if you tell yourself, hey, I really want to be this leader of good. And I know I'm in a tough circumstance here. So, what's one or two things I can try? Like you say, listening is clearly one of them. But the other thing is you might have to erase some of those assumptions in your head that, well, it doesn't matter what I say, Tom, he's just going to laugh at me or he's just going to shake his head and he's not going to be listening to a word I say. So why even go through the motions? Well, I think you go through the motions because you'd prefer your work environment or this relationship to be more like that picture of the sunset
Yeah.
with the sun out than with no light whatsoever.
And I think another opportunity that I'm sure we're going to talk about somewhere down the road is as people who are full of light also encourage people. They spend a lot of time encouraging people on their team, encouraging people to continue doing the things, even if they're failing, encouraging them, recognizing them, and helping them to see how important what they're doing is.
Yeah, we grow from getting outside of our comfort zone that you and I have talked about before on many occasions, and some of these conversations or interactions we have with people that tend to be a little more dark or in
Yeah.
environments that are a little more dark,
Yeah.
we're going to have to push through a little bit of fear.
No, that's right. That's right.
It can be scary
Yeah.
to do that, but again, if your purpose as the leader, and it's not just for the one individual who might be a little bit difficult, you probably have other people that are good people, and they're looking for you to help bring some light to the darkness that this one individual or the culture is surrounding everybody with. And so,
So, Steve, so many executives today or senior level people tend to think dominant is the right feature for them or the right approach to their character and personality. What we find is the dominant individual doesn't listen, basically thinks they're right, and the work that they're and the kind of environment that they're creating in the team that they're on is darkness. And it's difficult in a lot of ways to really help somebody who's dominant to understand listening, recognizing, encouraging. These are the kinds of things that are very, very important. Empathy, very, very important for them to be able to do to create light.
yeah. And the other thing that might be helpful for some that you don't have to go this alone.
Yes.
There's people around you that, like you, share this desire for good
Yeah.
in their workplace and in their lives. And as you talk with them and they nod their heads, invite them to play with you. Yeah, go in force against the darkness and go in force against areas where there's not good and let people know you need their help. And boy, that's just so much more comforting than if you feel you're out there all by yourself.
Yeah, yeah. The final thing for me around helping people gain light is to also when they're in a difficult situation and they're forgiving or whatever it might be, ultimately they got to let go. They got to let go of the difficulties. They've got to let go of the situations that have created some difficulties and be able to move forward. Moving forward is so important around leading for good and around creating light.
Yeah, it really is. And I guess my final comment would be that as I've encountered some of these circumstances since we've been doing this, I mean, it's now as natural for me as the sun coming up in the east to ask myself, did I bring good
Mm,
in any way, shape, or form into this last interaction I had?
yeah,
If
yeah,
so, what was it? If
yeah.
I asked the other person, would they agree with me? And I'm hoping I'm very critical on myself, but it's just kind of front and center right now that we all need to be doing more and more and more of that.
Yeah,
And I hope that some of these lessons we're talking about are helping people do that.
yeah, that's right. Thanks,
Well,
Steve. I
yeah,
just really enjoyed the discussion and enjoyed and glad that we spent a little bit of time at 40,000 feet helping people kind of, again, understand what we were talking about through our first 5 episodes.
yeah. And for the last thing, if as you listen to this, if you want to hear more about certain things, uh, comment on the page. Write down some things you like. If there's things you want to hear more of or anything, it will really help us going forward with diving deeper into some of these things or skipping over them. We just hope you'll give us that feedback
Yeah,
because we really want this to be a good experience for all of you.
yeah. Good, good.
All right, Tom, good seeing you, and we'll do it again.
I look forward to our next episode.